All right, everybody. In today's Touchdesigner tutorial, we will actually learn how to create this interactive ASCII character output. It's kind of really cool because it has really beautiful animations that you can actually create, and it's completely driven by your webcam. So as you can see, like I'm actually on the webcam, and based on that, the whole output is turning out to be really, really nice. And you would be wondering, like, what else can be created? So this is one design that we would definitely see how it can work out. Okay, so this is one. So the second thing that we would see is how we can use any external images or videos to produce an ASCII output. So here I'm using a loop video of skull, and you would be able to see how beautifully this can be created. Then the other thing that you could do is you can actually use a noise, and noise can also be very well be used to produce such a beautiful output. And of course, there is a lot can be done. All right, so before we move on, you guys across my Patreon page, well, it has got so many things in it. You pretty much get early access to all the stuff that I work on. It would be really amazing if you guys can follow me and subscribe me on Patreon. And every possible support is appreciated. Trust me, it is appreciated. And then I wanted to bring you guys towards the Instagram account. You can you can follow me, and there's a lot which you can actually see here. And there are a lot of good creations, a lot of inspirations that you can get. So yeah, by all means, you can follow me there. All right, let's get going. So first thing first, let's clear the canvas. Okay, now we are just going to create a constant first. So let's go and define a constant, and I'm going to just say as size. At this point of time, I would set size as 100, but again, we pretty much have a lot of freedom to play around with this. So for now, we'll just go with the size 100. Then let's go with a rectangle. So let's go to SOP, let's get rectangle. Let's have null. Then let's get a geometry component. Let's have camera. Let's have constant as material. Done. Let's apply constant material. This is good. Let's set up the render network. So we have render, and then we're going to have null at this point of time. Good, this looks nice. Now we want to ensure that we create the instancing. Okay, so for instancing to happen, I'm actually going to use something called as grid. So I've got grid here, and grid has got rows and columns. Currently it's set up as 2020, but I want to define my rows based on the constant that I have, right? So we will definitely do that, but not now. So let's go and say null, and then let's convert that into SOP2. So this is where we completely get TX, TY, and TZ, and which is definitely what we need at this point of time. And then what we do is we go and add a null, and this null is pretty much going to help us to drive our instancing. Okay, so let's go to Geo, let's go to Instance tab, let's enable the instancing, and then all we do is we go to translate op, and then we have TX, TY. Done. Now let's have RGB key as the output. Now you can see this is pretty much coming up good. Let's go to render, change the resolution to 1024 by 1024. Perfect. Now you'd be wondering, why don't I see the number of the grid instancing, right? So for that to happen, let's change the size of our rectangle. So now it is 0.1. Let's reduce it a little more, and now we can see. So it's coming out to be perfect, right? Now, as you can see that there's a lot of space here. What we could do is we can either go and reduce the distance of camera. So we can do this. So let's go with distance as 3 for now. So now this is something that I've already done. Now what I really need at this point of time is I want my camera, the web camera that I have, I want to use that as a part of creation, right? Okay, so this is good, but then I need to create a subject, and that subject pretty much, in this case, since we want to make it as interactive design, I would be using my webcam. So this is where my webcam is. As you can see, the signal format is 1280 by 720p and 10 hertz. But since I want to make it as flawless, I can just make it as 30 hertz. So it's going to be very smooth. So once that part is done, what I really want to do is, my resolution is square type. So I would use a fit as a node from top, and I would just use fit method as fit vertical. So you can see my frame is just coming out to be perfect here. Okay, so this is what we basically want to achieve as a part of it, right? Now, as you can see, there are so many pixels. There are like sizes around 1000 by 1000. Which is so many pixels that we would have to deal with if we go with this this pixel size, and which is really going to hog up our CPU, which we don't need it. So the main objective that we want to achieve here is we want to have our animation smooth and not choppy. And also our system should be capable enough to process every frame which is coming out from the webcam, right? So here what we're going to use is we're going to use resolution. So we are going to define resolution as custom resolution. So let's go and let's set up custom resolution as 100 by 100, and which is what we definitely need. So as you can see, there is sharpness here, but there is blurriness here, considering we have reduced resolution from 1000 to 100. Once this is done, then what we end up doing is we go to chop, and then we say top 2. Once the top 2 is given, what we really want to do is we just want to ensure that we only pick up R. Okay, so we are removing all of the channels. Then we go to crop, and instead of crop as row, I'm just going to say crop full image. So which is where I get every possible pixel line items into a waveform, right? Once that is done, second thing that I do is I have to use shuffle. So once shuffle is enabled, we have to have a method which is sequence all sample. So we can see how well the samples are coming up, right? Now, this is very important here. As you can see, the number of samples have increased. So as you can see, the number of sample has increased to 10,000. So what I really want to do is the samples which are being generated from this SOP2 has to be 10,000 too. So how could we do that? That can pretty much be done by changing the rows and columns. So we have defined a constant here. Let's go and pick it up and change our rows. Done. And let's change our columns. Done. So by doing that, what we actually get to see is we have 10,000 samples, which is what is matching with we have with our shuffle. Done. So once this is done, as you can see, this is too clogged up. So let's increase the size of our basic grid. So that can be pretty much done by this, and let's try and increase it by 0.5 as well. So let's make it as 2.5. Now let's go to our camera and let's increase the distance so we can get pretty good view. Or maybe the other thing that we could do is we can change the size of the rectangle. So let's reduce the size of rectangle a little bit more, but this is too small, which we don't need it. So let's make it as 0.05 as a size, and let's increase the size of a grid from 0.25 to something which is which is good enough for us to see. So let's go as 5. Yeah, 5 seems perfect. Now we go and change the size of our camera, and we make it as 6.5, or maybe 6.2. Okay, now again, this is completely dependent on you, how well you want to have it. We may as well reduce. Okay, this looks perfect. So this is what we want to achieve at this point of time. And since we have our samples matching in both the places, let's try and rename this as texture index. So what we do is we use select, and in select we are going to rename it as texture index, and this is what we need at this point of time. Now let's go and add a merge. So we are going to merge select, which is texture index, and txty and tz into this. So this is good. Now this part looks after the capturing the signals coming from the webcam, but we still want to create something for the ASCII output, right? Now the ASCII stuff can be solved by very simple thing. So let's go and enable a table. So I'm going into that, and I'm going into table. So this is where I have. Now what we do is I just need at least like 4 or 5 elements or 5 characters. So how do I go about it? So let's go and add row, add row, add row, and add row. So I'm just going to use 5. I need a dot. I need a percentage. I need at the rate. I need a comma. And I need a backslash. Okay, this is what I would want to enable it, right? So this is something that I have in my mind. Now for that to happen, we are going to use a logic of replicator. So how do we go about it? So let's define a character first. So I say text and top, and this is just going to be, let's say I'm just typing A at this point of time. I'm going to define A as, so we'll go to font, auto size, auto fit always, and this is what we get. All right, so we are going to use something from this table. So how do we go about? Now currently we are using text as A, but which is not what I really need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say op table 1. So I'm going to say me dot digits, comma, 0. So what we are trying to do here is basically based on the index value of the word that we have. So me dot digit is going to pick up the very first, the last character of this particular operator. Since I've got one column and number of rows, so I'm using 0 as my column indicator, and I'm using first particular part as a part of my row indicator. But my row indicator, I'm trying to get it based on a digit which is coming at the end of my operator. So what I'm going to use, or what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this into 0. So this is my text 0. I'm going to copy this entire part, and I would go to expression, and then I would just put say. So this is what my output is going to look like. Now if I make it as 1, so I'll see percentage. If I change it as, let me change it to 2. So if I change it to 2, so 2 at the rate. So it is like 2 comma 0, right? But for now, I would just need it as 0. So this is my dot. But now if I go here and if I change from dot to, let's say, A, so it's going to bring me A. If I change to number 9, So it's going to bring number 9. But for now, all I need is just a dot. Okay, so we go with the dot for now. Now, the second thing that I need is a replicator. So let's go to comp and let's use replicator. So what I'm going to use is, let's disable the output for now so it doesn't become too clunky for us. Okay, so let's go and define things, right? So one of the important thing in Replicator is the template.table. So this is the table that I'm going to use. So let's go and supply that as an argument. So table1 is my argument for that table. Then item operator prefix is item. And what is the master operator that we are dealing with? So this is my master operator. Any changes that I do on this is going to get replicated across all. So I go and select this and put it up here. Done. Text 0. As soon as I do that, I get my replicator in action, and which is what I basically need as an output. The one thing that you would notice is the values that we are getting from the webcam is just ranging between 0 to 1, whereas the number of characters that we have is 0 to 4, which is nothing but 5 characters. So let's use math, and what we can do is we can resample our values from 0 to 1 to 0 to 4. So we'll basically get output ranging from 0 to 4, and which is what we want to use as a part of our main change, right? Now, we are pretty set here. Okay, so now let's enable the output and let us see how well we can perform our texture index, right? So we go to instance texture, and I'm going to say item hash. Okay, so by doing that, you already get an output. But what is our texture index operator? So texture index operator is nothing but null 4. So let's use that. And what is the index that we are using? So index is texture index. So you can say this is completely coming up as what we need. Let's go and use a transform. So I'm going to use transform, and I am going to rotate my webcam signal from 0 to -90. So by doing that, I get a complete picture. Let's go and enable a level. Now, by introducing level, we can just play around with the brightness of the image, and then we can increase gamma. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things that we actually can do. So this is something that you can give a try. You would also be wondering what other things that I could do here. So pretty much the selection of characters that we have used here can also be changed. So let's give a try, and instead of making backslash here, let's make it as dot, and let's have this as a backslash. So you can see an output is turning out to be completely different. Now, instead of at the rate, we may want to use, let's say, hash. So let's see the output. So hash is coming up. Now, you could be wondering, how about we have like plus sign. So let's use plus sign. So you can see everything gets changed, and it produces a very cool and pretty good output that we want as a part of it. So again, there are a lot of possibilities we have, and there is a lot can be done. You can play around based on the image transformation. So you can use a threshold. So let's add a threshold to change the values. So now you only see pretty 2D image, and again, there are stuff that you can try. The other thing that you may want to do is you can actually combine two different outputs. So let's go here and apply a composite. So we will be using composite to get some different output, like negate. So this gives a different output altogether. you may want to use reflect. Then how about we do brightest? So yeah, like heat. So of course, I mean, there are so many possible combinations that you can give a try to use it. But at the end of the day, this is something that we can definitely get it easily. Now, so this is one part that I wanted to show. The other thing that you can definitely do is you can introduce a noise. So let's go and get a noise first, right? So for now, let's go and use this noise and let's increase the period to this. Let's animate this noise. So we go with ABS time dot seconds into 0.5. Done. So this is working. Now let's go and simply use it as a part of our input to our resolution. And by doing that, you pretty much can get a different output altogether, right? It's that easy actually. Let's reduce the movement from 0.5 to 0.1, and this gives a beautiful, beautiful output. The other thing that you definitely have a control in your hand is you can play around and change the harmonics, whatever you want. It's very flexible in a way. So this is one that I wanted to show as a part of it. So okay, this is my spinning skull video that I have, and I want to animate that. So what I could easily do is, since I've already setting my resolution here, I can just change the connection from noise to the spinning skull. So let's enable it, and there you go. This is the output. Now again, I need to apply a transformation. So what I could do is I can use a transform. So let's add a transform, and let's change it to -90, the rotation, and there you go. So this is something that you can do. Let's change the scale a little bit. So let's make skull a little bigger. You would be wondering that skull is really moving so fast. So go and reduce the speed. So it again works based on what combination of data that you put up. I hope you enjoyed this output, and I hope you had a good time learning Touchdesigner. I'll definitely come up with some more tutorials, and please do tag me when you actually create your artwork. Thank you so much. Well, I wish you good luck and enjoy. Bye for now.